Ollie, we are pleased to be joined now in studio by our special guest, Natasha Adair, Associate Head Coach for the SU Women's Basketball Team, joining us here. Coach, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to meet you. It's our first chance to have a chance to talk with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just fresh off the road recruiting. This was a big recruiting weekend for us, so we got in late last night. So much excitement out there on the road, and for me to be able to represent, the Orange family and echo Coach Jack and who she is, her passion, but also her pride. And so it's about we're starting week 3. So I've been here 3 weeks, and when I tell you got here and hit the ground running.
With recruiting in women's basketball, the game is growing exponentially. Is there events like they have, for the men's where you can just go to one place and do it, or are you traveling all over the place?
Well, the beauty of it is we have multiple coaches that can kind of divide and conquer. So we are out on the road this week. I was in Vegas. I went from Vegas to Kentucky, but we were in Cincinnati. We were in Indianapolis. So we are all over the place, scouring, the country for the best talent. And the beauty of it is there's so much talent out here, and women's basketball players. I mean, there's size, there's athleticism, there's IQ, there's so many sharpshooters, and a lot of them will look really, really good in orange.
We had Felicia Leggett-Jack on our show last week, and she was very complimentary of you and how lucky this program is to have you. So can you tell us a little bit about your basketball journey and how you ended up here at Syracuse?
Oh, my goodness. Well, this is, I'm going on year 30. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've had the benefit of working for some amazing coaches when I was an assistant coach at Georgetown University. I know we don't mention that school too much.
Yeah,
I know.
Around here.
And then, in the ACC at Wake Forest University, where I spent, 9 years. And to be back in the ACC, I did kind of smile when she called, but went on and had a phenomenal career as a head coach at the College of Charleston, back at Georgetown University, the University of Delaware, most recently Arizona State. And so very seasoned and also has seen the game grow. Where we are right now in college athletics for women's basketball, women's sports, they're hot. And just us talking about it today, the viewership, you can see viewership numbers are through the roof. Ticket sales are through the roof. And so when Felicia called me, when Coach Jack called, and I've known her for over 20 years, and I've always respected her. She's a coach that, when I got in the business, extended an olive branch, someone that you could go to, not just about basketball, but about life. And that's who she is, not only for her staff of coaches, but for her players. We talked about the opportunity. We talked about what it was going to look like. And for me, it was a no-brainer to be a part of her staff, her family, this community. It was yes right away.
So along those lines, I was going to ask you that as my follow-up question. What was it about this place, this job, this program that felt like the right fit for you at this time?
Well, I'm originally from Washington, D.C., so just growing up, you know about Syracuse University. You know about Syracuse athletics. And you know the competitiveness, but you add Coach Jack to that, someone who not only is coaching here, but she bleeds orange, right? Played here most recently in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Grew up here.
Right. Grew up here, right? Hometown hero. And so to know that you would be working alongside of someone that is just not in a job, right? This is her way of life. She is going to leave everything that she has on the line for this university, for this community, and for our student athletes. I wanted to align myself with that passion, that vision. But she's also a winner. She's a winner. She's a champion. And everything that she touches, every person that she motivates and mentors to, they succeed. And so I just, there's so many character traits. There's so many reasons why. But most importantly, it was just to align myself with a winner, with a person who cares, who leads with love, and just finishes every day on empty.
You said you've been doing this for 30 years or so. How have you seen the game change? And I guess part of that, I mean, is, you look at this roster, 15 players on this roster, more than half of them, 8 of them are either transfers or freshmen. So it seems like it's almomes like a brand new team every year. I mean, how have you, and that was not the case when you first got started.
Before, I mean, you didn't transfer, and if you transferred, there were rules where you had to, sit out a year or two if it was in conference. But the game has evolved, and to be relevant in the game and to be competitive in the game, you have to evolve with it. And that's an attribute to our administration, to our president, to our AD, to our leaders that say, you know what, we're not only going to just compete, we want to be the best. And so just seeing the game change, I think it attributes just to where we are in athletics, but where women's sports have really, really prevailed. And now we're on the forefront in pretty much every sport there is. It gives our student athletes, when I graduated from college, there was no WNBA, right? To now know that there's WNBA, and now we're talking about expansion teams. Our student athletes, it's not just a dream. They just don't have to go play, internationally, even though that's great for them to do, but they can stay home. And so that, just to see the game change, to see women's basketball leading the numbers on ESPN coverages, and people want to buy season tickets and people want to be in the building. I've got to see it evolve that way, right? I always knew that it was the hottest ticket in town and such a competitive sport because I played it. But now to know that everyone's talking about women's sports, God rest his soul. Kobe would have been, that girl dad, and he started that trend. But you see fathers bringing their daughters to the games. You see them at the WNBA games and patronizing women's sports. Watching volleyball, I have to, shameless plug. My daughter plays volleyball at Texas State. She's a junior, but just to know she even says, "Mommy, I can play after college." It's a game changer, and you can't be what you can't see. And now our student athletes know that they can play after college, that there is support for women's basketball. There are eyes on women's basketball and women's sports. I just think that we've just scratched the surface, and there's more for us to do.
I do want to circle back to your daughter and your family here in a minute, but I have to ask you, you've been here, I know it's only been 3 weeks, but what can you tell us about next year's team, or this coming season's team? What has stood out to you about this group you're working with?
The competitiveness. I mean, this group, we are up every morning. We're in the gym, 6:45, stretching, 7 a.m. start. And when I tell you, you would think it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon with the energy and enthusiasm. You touched on that there are 8 new players. You wouldn't know that. Yeah. Obviously, there's a learning curve, terminologies, but basketball's basketball. I think Coach cracked a smile. I know she's going to see this and hear this. I probably shouldn't say that, but she cracked a smile today because we are competing. Mm-hmm. What I absolutely love is you wouldn't really know that there are 8 new players because they're spending so much time together, the chemistry, the sisterhood that they are forming. But at the end of the day, the goal is to win. And the goal is to put Syracuse women's basketball in a position to win the ACC championship, to go to the NCAA, to get us, past the Sweet 16, to get us to an Elite 8. We want to compete for a national championship. And when you look in that gym and you see the pieces, we have the size, we have the depth, we have the ability to score on the perimeter, inside, and we have balance within. We have experience. And you just have a group that's super, super hungry to win.
All right, tell us a little bit about your family, if you could. From what I understand, you were recently in Europe with your daughter?
So my daughter, like I said, plays volleyball at Texas State. She's a rising junior, Alyssa. I call her Allie. And her team went abroad. And most teams in college, the student athletes, at least one time within their 4 years, will be afforded a trip abroad. And they went to Europe. We started in Prague. And then we were in Slovenia. Then we went to Venice.
Wow.
Then we finished in Paris. Not too shabby. I said, Coach, yes, I'm coming, but I have a trip before I get there. But just, basketball and all sports for her, volleyball opens doors, right? There's so many opportunities that sports create for our student athletes. I remember when I was coaching at a school that I won't name, and we were in Europe, and one of the student athletes said, I was just trying to make it out of where I'm from, and here I am now in Paris, right? And just now she's abroad. Now she's abroad teaching and working, and it just creates another opportunity and just a world scope for our student athletes. But to be there with my daughter, they competed. They played club teams in Prague, in Slovenia, and in Paris. But it was more about team bonding. The incoming freshmen were able to be there. She's now a leader and a junior, and just watching her thrive. But and they're actually changing conferences as well.
Right.
So there's so much happening in women's sports, and just as a mom watching my daughter do it. But I also have a son, a 29-year-old son who played at Johnson C. Smith. He played basketball, and so my children they've grown up in the gym. They know what it means to work hard, and reaps the benefits of their hard work. So
That's great.
I'm a very proud mother.
I was just going to say, I can tell how
I am
proud you
super
are.
proud, yes.
When you're not coaching basketball, what do you like to do? What are some of your
Oh,
hobbies? Tell us about you personally.
Well, I love spending time with my family. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. Being from Washington, D.C., I am closer than I was in Arizona.
Yeah.
I will tell you that.
Sure.
I was able to just go home last weekend and see my mom and dad and spend some time with my family. But if not, you know, I love to just read. I loved writing poetry. Those are things that people may not know about me, but really because there's so much going on, it's just quiet time. But time with my family is the biggest thing for me.
Well, we are so happy that you're here in Syracuse. And again, Felicia Leggett-Jack was telling us last week that she feels awfully fortunate to have you as part of the staff. It was a pleasure chatting with you today. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank
and
you both.
Best of luck as the season gets started. I know it's going to be here before we know it.
All I want to say is if you don't have your season tickets, you're late. Go get your season tickets now. Our women are working extremely hard. This is going to be a very, very special year.
All right. Natasha Adair joining us here on the program. We'll take a timeout. 315-437-7644 is the number if you'd like to check in. We've got today's business on the other side. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.